All right, so here we are. We're going to take a look at what they've done in the update to the Tomb King starting positions. Essentially what they've done is they reverted to Warhammer 2 in terms of the army. So what we have here is I've got a screen capture of the new game, the 6.3, and that's on the right here. And then the old version is on the left. Now 6.3 is not live right now. It's a beta because apparently there's some hardware issues. So if you want this, you have to opt in. The most important thing I think here is Cetra has been given back his kitty cat here. This is one of the best parts about playing Cetra back in Warhammer 2, was you got the Sphinx, the War Sphinx, not the Necro Sphinx, the War Sphinx, and you could just run that thing through enemy infantry. That's a theme we're going to see here in a couple of these guys. They've taken away his defensive Tomb Guard and given him the sword version. He doesn't really have a lot of defense here. There's no spearmen. Of course, they're going to be really easy to get. So essentially, they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He had 8 units. He now has 6. But he has the kitty cat. And the kitty cat, early on, nobody has anything that really is any trouble to that. I mean, spearmen maybe, but not really. Spearmen are going to be a problem. So let's take a look at the faction effects. Growth is the same. That growth in all provinces is still there, and that construction time is there. They've taken away the alliances with Tomb Kings. You weren't going to be getting any alliances with any Tomb Kings. You were going to... it wasn't going to happen. Down here you can see casualty replenishment rate of 10%, still the same. Cetra's leadership size, still the same. Recruitment capacity +1. And now population surplus +1 for newly captured settlements. So this addresses one of the main issues that Tomb Kings have always had, and that's their growth. Now, I have not looked at the campaign, and I haven't looked at the lords themselves, and I haven't looked at the heroes. This is just an examination of the starting position, and I think this is better units for Cetra because that Sphinx is just a beautiful unit to use. It's a lot of fun. The animations are great. It mows through most of the stuff you're going to see at the beginning of the game. And, the spearmen and the archers will be easy enough to get. So let's move on. We've got our buddy Katep here. Now, Katep, he got his Hero Titan back, or his Hero Titan, whichever way you want to say it. This is another one of those units that's just an absolute blast to use. It's not tremendous by the time you can build one. When you've got your cities high enough, you maybe don't build it, but you would, because you get the best units you can. You're not looking forward to it. It's not wonderful by then, but it's got Shem's Burning Gaze, and it's got that Soul Leech one, or Spirit Leech, as bound spells, and it's just fantastic to watch that thing stomping on enemies and burning them with his laser eyes and waving the brazier or the scales around. It just brings you back to that fun time in Warhammer 2 when they introduced the Tomb Kings, and this thing was just a phenomenal unit. So what else have they done? They've taken away one of his Nehekara warriors, taken away one of his horsemen, and taken away the Serpent Cavalry, which they're pretty awful. Pretty awful unit, and I don't know why he had the cavalry army in Warhammer 3. It just did not seem to fit at the beginning of the game with what I felt Katep was about. Now I think he's been nerfed otherwise. They've taken away his additional Lich Priests, so you used to be able to just start recruiting and sacrificing Lich Priests until you got the ones you want, usually Canopic Jar Hoarders, whatever it was you were looking for. Now he doesn't have that. He doesn't have the additional Lich Priest. He does also lose his right cost reduction. That's gone. He has the Mortuary Cult crafting cost reduced from 25% to 20%. Now he does get more experience for his characters, and he does get more Winds of Magic for his armies. 10 Winds of Magic reserve. It's it's nothing. When you're talking about having to have between 100 and 120 to be a powerful army, 10 extra, it's pretty terrible, I think. Campaign movement range of 10%, he still has that. Character experience gain for the Lord's army has become all characters. Then he's got chance of winds of magic increasing when changing 50% and enabling of magical attacks for the Lord's army. That's the outstanding effect for his army to be making every single attack magical. That means it bypasses physical resistances, and only ward save will stop it. So that's actually pretty good. I don't know that it makes up for the early Lich Priests, but we'll see. And the thing is, it's only his army, but you're going to be doing most of the fighting with his army. So he did get his Hydro Titan back. He does get magical attacks for the army. This will have a pretty good improvement of the local magic wins to give him this. And he needs that because the Nehekara cult magic, which he has, of course, is probably considered to be the weakest of the magics. Let's skip ahead to Arkan. Here's our boy Arkan. Arkan still starting with the 2 armies. Okay, we'll look at these effects. We're still starting with the 2 armies, still able to recruit vampire count units, but these 2 things have been nerfed. He now has minus 60 with Tomb Kings instead of 50, and he only has plus 40 with vampire coast and vampire counts instead of plus 60, so his diplomacy is weaker. He also still has the Winds of Magic capacity and the melee attack plus 5, so he's pretty much the same here as he's always been. But he does get his Tomb Scorpion back that he used to have. Let's get back on him. He's got his ghouls, he's got his bats, he's got his hex wraiths, he's got his Tomb Scorpion. He loses an archer and he loses a spearman, but this Tomb Scorpions are a lot of fun. Early on, they're really good against Bretonnian infantry, digging around, thrashing around. They're very hard to hit, very hard to kill. And again, they're just another fun unit to use. Otherwise, he's pretty much the same here. We would wonder perhaps if there's some change to him on the campaign. And then lastly, we're going to look at my girl Khalida. Khalida was one of the 2 lords I played the most in Vortex at the beginning of my Warhammer 2. Yes, I played Vortex at the beginning of my Warhammer 2 days. They both were in Lustria, right next to each other, effectively. And Khalida has had her Necro Serpent restored, and they've replaced the Ushabti with a Bone Giant. That's an interesting move. They've taken away her archer cavalry. They've taken away one of her archers. She keeps the Skull Catapult, and she gets the Necro Serpents, which is great because she boosts archery and she boosts cavalry. But Necro Serpents are terrible cavalry. They're slow. There's not a lot of bodies. I think they're a unit that I like because they're kind of cool to look at, but they are pretty awful units. So let's see what they've done to her. Diplomatic relations with all factions, she keeps that one. Control, she keeps that one. Research rate, she keeps that one. This one is gone. Ammunition of an additional 20%, which is great in sieges, is gone and replaced with dedication to Asaph, where increased armor piercing damage and penetration for archer units in all her armies. So she gets less ammunition, but her archery becomes more effective. So now she's more effective in battle. In siege, you want the ammunition so you can sit there and fire across the walls at the enemy until they're weakened. Now she'll be more powerful in the campaign. And this is extremely important for her because you have to remember that her main local major legendary lord potential foes are Thorek and Krokar. So dwarfs and lizardmen with lots of armor. So I'm really looking forward to playing her and seeing just how much that benefit is. They've taken away the 50% attrition and simply given her immunity to mountain and swamp. Mountain and swamp are the two things next to her that are not her local that she's going to need immunity for. Mountain going after Nagashazar, mountain going after Thorek perhaps, and swamp in a lot of the territory in Southlands near her, it does have swamp. She now has -5 to corruption instead of -3, and she still keeps the enemy poison attacks. I'm really interested in seeing if they've done anything to her skill tree. I love her as a legendary lord because I think she's the weakest of the 4. And I loved to, when you're starting off, you know, you play the High Elves first, you get the staunch line of spears and the archers. She's the most like that for the Tomb Kings because of her archery. And now the archery has armor piercing. We don't know how much. I'll probably take a look at just how much that is in comparison to before. But she I'm really looking forward to. So most of the starting cool units for the Tomb Kings have been restored to where they were in Warhammer 2, and I think that's a good thing because I think the new armies were a lot more bland and didn't suit the character the way I thought they should be played. And Arkan has remained pretty much the same. Katep has maybe been a little bit nerfed, and then Cetra and Khalida slightly buffed. So looking forward to playing them.